Hey everybody, welcome to this governance season in Gimbalabs. My name is Newman Lanier. You're here with the Gimbalabs crew. Uh, Harsha and I have been developing a little process, a meeting, of facilitating this meeting in governance. This is day two, so if you're just joining us and where there is another recording of last week's process, and we're hoping to finish it up today. The thing is going to last 90 minutes. If you are watching this in the future, just pause and you have to leave. Just pause. If you're here and you have to leave, there will be a recording. That's what we're recording for. All right. We just finished our check-in round, so if you come to these meetings, you can visit with all the people that are here. Uh, I say let's just jump into it. Unless Harsha, you got other announcements or things we need to say into the recording?
No, no, I think that's pretty good.
All right. All right. I'm gonna share up my screen and okay, and dropping. And yeah, I couldn't get my otter to go. Kind of bummed about it, but it's all good. I did pay and they're not doing it for me. So, um,
Still feeding
okay.
through it afterwards.
I can. Yes, I can. Yes, that's a good point. Hey, so this is the Miro board. We love Miro in that love-hate kind of way. Um, so this is the big main board, and my idea here is to give you a sense, very short, very briefly, of what we went through last week. And this is part of a thing called the driver mapping protocol or pattern from S3, and it looks a little bit like this. It goes through these steps, um, and we went through that by sharing a meaningful conversation or story about what happened last year in Gimbalabs. And based on those stories, we came up with um, our contribution and sort of the verbs of what we did. And some of them were like refining ideas or to join a group or uh, losing or like failing or doing something, making a mistake, which is all a part of things. Uh, Once we came up with those verbs, we came up with the impact. And so they are like building trust or meeting co-conspirators. Uh, but collaborators are becoming more, made me more confident. That's an impact of the of the things that we did here in Gimbal Labs. Then we categorize those. Um, we sort of work with them. And then we did this thing called a why statement. And I guess this is from Simon Sinek. Um, and it's also in they overlap. It's also in the S3 pattern. But we took our contribution, which is this green part, and we took our impact statement, which is this blue part, and we created a why statement, like to learn so that we can teach others, or to document so that things are made clear. We got all of those things into these green stickies. Am I tracking so far? Everybody's following? Okay, see some hearts and some thumbs up. Everybody's okay, perfect. And so then we sort of grouped and categorized the why statements, and these categories sort of developed. Developing Cardano, meeting facilitating, attending meetings so that I can build personal relationships, or to travel, which is interesting to travel, so that we can meet co-founders, collaborators, conspirators. Oh man. And then like this experiment, lose, fail, uh like getting that the problems and things are a big part of Gimbal Labs, which I'm really happy to sort of see. Um okay, and then so that's where we got to yesterday. So we follow this little line up, this line up, and we get to today. The objective really today is to find a new driver statement, and then the second thing that we want to do today is an operational backlog, which is like basically a giant to-do list uh, of what we want to accomplish in the future, in the upcoming time, next year, let's even say. All right, so that brings us up to now. Does anybody have questions, or did anybody have any like insight, like did they think about the like what we did last week? And is anybody like burning like, ooh, I really want to do this thing today? Yeah, yeah. Okay. So let's jump in then. So if you can, so the first thing that Harsha and I did was we looked at these, and we wanted to recategorize them and sort of come up with circles. Um, and this is where we all jump in on the Miro board, if you're inclined. And we put these, we can, oh, are they grouped? I think they're grouped. Hold on. Group, group. Hey, Harsha.
They're already in the group.
Oh, these are already in the groups. Ah, yeah, 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 yeah. I
Yeah,
see.
because
See.
education, the top ones are the groups, I think.
Oh, oh, that's what it was. At some point, we're like, hey, let's put them into circles so that we can sort of like these that are on the boundaries, find out who I like working with, find out what I like working on. They kind of fit in the border of community governance and education, you know? Um, so did these feel like, so take a look around here and I'm just going to set a timer for some thinking time and uh, kind of move them around and see where they might fit in categorizing. A little bit of categorizing is an activity. So I don't think I can't do a timer, but I can on my little tool here.
I think I can throw one on.
I got this one. Here we go.
Cool.
We'll do 3 minutes. Okay. And in this 3 minutes, see if I can make this bigger. There we go. And in this 3 minutes, I guess it's looking at these blue stickies, which are the impacts. Also looking at these green ones, although we can't really move them around, but does that make sense? Mhm.
I ungrouped them so we can move them around as needed.
Oh yeah, yeah. Let's do that. Let's do this. Check this out. We'll just drop this over on education. Bring them to the front. Put this one over here. So now let's bring them up to the front. Drop them over here. Community building. This one down here. These down here, right up the front. Oh, and these are our lost souls. Like, where do they go? Yeah, this one down here goes here. Oh, yeah, this is down here. Building. this is up here. Finding ideas. All right. So, oh, I think that felt good. Anybody want to talk about something that they got out of that bit of time? Did that help? Did that hurt? Okay. So we've got more coming, and I don't mind racing through this because really the big show is this guy right here. So if we get to that before, we don't have to sort of linger. But I do want to is everybody finished? We can thumbs up and I can also monitor the chat here. Hold on. See some chats coming through. Oh my God, Scott, you just earned a bonus by catching the recording. Oh, Ryan. Okay, see you later. Ryan had to leave. Our new guy had to leave. Ah. Um, okay. Does anybody find something that was difficult there? Was it easy?
There's just a couple of them that can actually be in all three of them, all three of the
Yeah.
circles.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah, I
also,
saw that.
I'm just
Yeah.
curious, did anyone think we need another category where things might fit better? Or are these categories sufficient enough?
Yeah, that's a good question. Education, building, community, and governance. Yeah. Team building to join a group. Let's see. Let's see as we go down. Let's do the same 3 minutes on this one, and we can push and pull these around. But basically, this is to get fresh in our mind, like what we went over last week. So for the next 2 minutes and 40 seconds to read and review these, you can also and Harsha and I talked about this a little bit, like, hey, what's missing? Is there anything up here that now you're like, oh, wait a minute. Gimbalabs to me is blah blah blah. Um, is there stuff here that this is like kind of a catch-all? Like if you're as you're reading through this, okay, a couple minutes to do some thinking here. And I guess this is still sort of thinking about the past, like what has gone on in Gimbalabs so far. And as you recall, these are why statements, which is, follows that format of to something so that to document so that things are made clear. So document to document is the action and things are made clear is the impact. Okay, okay.
Can we add a category?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, yeah, this is I just do it like this. Boom. Yeah, there you go. Ah, I hear, I hear, what was that from? Oh man, okay. All right. Andrew has got, yeah. Andrew, tell us more about this new category that you put in.
Sorry, I was muted then. Yeah, well, I guess why I came to Gimbalabs in the first place, or how I found it, was through learning. I want to learn how to write smart contracts and how to work on the
Yeah.
chain, Cardano. So I started with the PBBL course. Um, so yeah, that's it's funny how it's kind of was in the what's missing thing, but maybe well, yeah, I
Yeah.
guess that's
That
a big part of why
that's
we're here
dude,
to learn
exactly.
more.
And that's interesting. That's an interesting sort of and maybe James, I think we had talked about a little bit about this in last time. There's the concept of the water you're swimming in, or meaning that sometimes we don't see those super obvious things because it's sort of taken for, you know, taken for granted, or just sort of it's just the thing that's all around. And Harsha and I talked about this. I was like, yeah, what about just like a learning or education, and see how we've got it up in the top. But it really is a quality of meeting and facilitating, problem solving, experimenting. It's really the interaction of all of these. But
Yeah,
I like calling it out. Does that sort of that's how we explained why it wasn't there.
yeah, no, it makes sense to me. Yeah.
But with that being said, I think we'll see when we get to the driver statement. We'll see what the AI did with it, you know, which I thought was actually kind of funny. It shows up. It shows up. So I'm glad that you recognize that. That's exactly what Harsha and I recognized. Okay, any other insights? I see a hand is up. Kevin, hey, right on.
Yeah, I don't want to take too much time, of course, but um, I wonder how in practice I'm going to work together with other peers of the Gimbalabs community if they ever want to join in on one of the courses.
Yes.
So, are we making one of the ideas is maybe have a channel in Discord where I just log in and share my screen whenever I'm working on this project or on that course, and anyone can join in. How can you explain your experience, how you collaborate, make sure, because in practice, we have been working on the Marlow project a little bit. It's stalled due to the developers on the project. Now there is a fund 13 that went on and so on. But now, who is taking the lead? Okay, there were some questions that we are now with 3 people. But how are we going to do this practically? By having more meetings than only once every week for 1 hour, if we want to increase frequency. And how does that work on other courses? Could you share that, or is this subject not fit for this meeting now?
Absolutely. I think that's a very reasonable and practical example of like what we're doing and surfacing. You could so surfacing attention. So that's sort of a attention. Or maybe it would go fall into this down here. We're going to get to the what's needed. So you can say, hey, what's needed? And then you could say, like, what do I want to do? Create a Discord channel, or what do I want to do? Um, we could call it onboarding, or work with more people, or get support, or give support. So this, I want you to remember when we get to those things, and that's exactly the type of idea that we want to get to. James has a hand up. Go ahead, James.
Yeah, it's such an important question, Kevin. And what we're doing today is just taking a brief chance at the start of the year to think about why we're doing what we do. And so for you, this is a great chance to engage in that exercise too, right? So you have some goals around participating in the creation of Marlowe PBL. Now's a good chance to kind of elucidate why you want to help deliver that course, because maybe it generalizes or maybe it resonates with some other people here.
Yeah. Okay. Um, one of the big things, and I hope that I feel like it's like the transition from an institutional mindset and a network mindset. I think I'll speak as for myself. Like I want to work in sort of open institutions, and we talk about open, and we can start getting into this part. Like what open to me means that there is a stated and clear organizational goal, like they've written it down. We wrote it down last year. And I, as an individual, have a goal, a need, a driver, objective, tactics, metrics, and that when we all participate in this protocol or ecosystem, uh, that collaborations can happen a little bit better. So one of the things that that I'm looking for are like a personal driver statement or personal goals, objectives, tactics, etc. So you can take that as we build a, the thing together. We can practice this idea of taking autonomy. These are blockchain sort of ideals, where we become agents or nodes in a network and not uh, a strata in a pyramid. That's I'd rather have some agency. And so one of those things is that as we build it together, we can say, just like Kevin did, he's like, oh, what I really want to do is direct. No, what I really want to do is figure out how to collaborate with people, which is 100% what we're trying to do. Um, basically to learn, explore. Uh, does it say with others necessarily? Empower? Okay. So, um, I feel like that gets us to the next section, and I'm gonna follow the pattern. Hey, Harsha, or anyone, do you feel comfortable with leaving this behind and getting on into our driver?
Yeah.
All right, all right. And here we are. Let's look at the driver. Maybe we can read this in. Harsha, want to read this one in for us? The AI will pick it up in a future date.
Which one, the AI one or the regular one?
Which one do you want to start with?
Okay, we'll go with what we have right now.
Yeah.
So our current 2024 Gimbalabs primary driver is to provide open, replicable, safe spaces to learn, to explore, and to empower individuals and organizations anywhere so that we can solve meaningful problems. And the AI generated version, based on all the content that we created in the last two workshops, is to engage in collaborative problem solving, experimentation, and knowledge sharing so that we can build impactful technologies, foster meaningful relationships, refine innovative ideas, and create long term value.
Okay. Thanks, Harsha. So I wanna spend some time, and we'll start with 3 minutes. I want to spend some time thinking about this driver. And instead of, you can drop ideas or thoughts into the chat, and you can put down sticky notes here as well. Drop in a sticky tool. Sticky stack. Here we go. And, and and in a minute, I'm going to give like a more of a prompt, just to sort of like, what are your, and so basic prompt here is, do you have any ideas or thoughts, your general thoughts? Like, how did it work for you last year? Were you like proud of it? Did you use it? Did you think about it? The one thing could be like for somebody that just finished the Emergo Academy, found out about Gimbalabs on an X post and rolled up in here. And would you feel like this driver statement, which is at the beginning of our meetings and at our, would you feel like that would gave them a sense of direction and vision? Is this a good, you know, primary statement, primary driver of what Gimbalabs is? And does this new one that the AI made, does it get us closer?
So
What?
for me, like
Yeah,
one thing comes up personally, in our 2024 driver, uh, providing replicable safe spaces seems to be the why of Gimbalabs. But in the 2025 AI generated driver, it seems like problem solving, experimenting, and knowledge sharing is the why of Gimbalabs. Am I
yeah,
getting that right?
I think you're right. Because it's not one, it's not even really reflected here. And what is like replicable? What is safe spaces? Um, to me, that means like our meeting formats with some of the very clear patterns, like the check-in and check-outs, um, the openness, meaning that they're transparent, they're all on the calendar and people can roll in. And I see that Scott has written something in the thing. And Scott, I'm just going to read this out for you. Safe Spaces was also a movement, quote, and may have been developed out of the AI model. Hey.
So
Well,
I don't.
the Safe Spaces thing that came from last year's driver. That's
Yeah,
last year's driver.
the word safe spaces specifically, I remember came from Sebastian because he put that word up.
Nice, nice.
Well, weren't y'all also questioning why it was not in the 2025 AI generated
Yeah.
driver?
Well, yeah, that's because yeah,
That's what my reason was in there is because yeah, I don't know. With all like I'm not trying to get political here, but I like all the political social stuff that went on. There might be some things that are developed out of particular models, depending upon the
right.
developer.
Yeah, that's true. Because I mean, this was last year about this time when we were going through it. Yeah, Safe Spaces has a little bit of, like there is a little bit of context or connotation. There's some uh baggage or like extra stuff that comes along with that. Um, but to me, it means that people are what do they call it? Psychological safety. That's like, oh, it's okay for you to another one that's in sort of our basic background knowledge of bringing your whole self. Like you don't have to put on a posture to be here. You can come as you are kind of meetings. And that's what safe space is to me. Meaning that it's not a bullying place. Go ahead, Jay.
Yeah, no, like the AI one predictably reads like consultant speak. And I kind of like the term safe spaces, if for no other reason than we pause at it. And so for
Yeah.
me, like, yeah, like figuring out like how do we write a driver that yes is accurate and also does somehow humanize this work.
Yeah. Yeah. I like, okay, so here's one of my thoughts. Um, and it's really something that Kevin brought up, the the collaboration, uh like working to collaboratively solve meaningful problems. Like I do think that Gimbalabs to me is like working in groups or finding the collaborators and doing things together as opposed to just doing them on my own. And it does then, I mean, it may be just something that's implicit in the driver as it is. So that's one thing because I want people to come to Gimbalabs to meet and do things with other folks, like to join teams, you know, or to participate, like in a thing. So that's one thing that I see that is not reflected in the current driver that could be a change. And then let's read some things to offer value to a decentralized network. Okay, collectively and individually. Yeah, I like that. All meaningful problems offer value. This is something I wrote. Focus. Question mark. Okay. Let's see here. Solve meaningful problems versus create long-term value. Ooh, that's a great one. That's a great one. Because they're sort of the same, but they kind of move us in a different direction. Harsha, what's that one you're pointing to? Yeah. So here's a replacement so that we can build impactful technologies so that you are impactful. And the thought here is provide a resource to empower through knowledge, or are we indeed also providing technology? In fact, Dandelion Project is an argue to state build tech. Not 100% sure on that, but I do kind of think build impactful technologies that you are impactful. Like putting the you in something makes stuff engage in.
Yeah, what I was thinking to make the text shorter, and that would be the only way to improve on or adding my support in this. Um, but if you think it through, it's fine as it is. We're making tech indeed. Huh? The Dandelion is like the coding. Um,
Yeah, so we can think about like what are we you can think of it in the terms of a system. And systems you think of like three parts of a system: an input, a process or an action, and an output. So
yeah.
what are the Gimbal Labs inputs? It's like people and time, attention, some catalyst funds, I don't know, technology, data centers. I don't know. And then the verbs or the actions are facilitating meetings, coming and contributing, opening up your Miro and typing things and listening and um, forking a repo and doing a pull request. Like those are the actions that do. And then what is the output? And so one of the outputs could be people that are impactful. Like that says a lot, I think. Um,
Yeah, I had the impression that Gimbalabs provides courses mostly and not real technologies or a product. So that's why I responded that way in that
yeah.
sentence.
Okay,
But
so now tell me
you
more.
can leave
Yeah,
it
yeah.
as you want. It's okay.
Well, no, I think if you were to give this to Ryan, if you're listening to this in the future, God bless you, man, because think that we need to remember, like we get a little too inside baseball, and um uh if we sort of forget that Gimbalabs is like, I think that that could be reflected, and then we'll say, oh yeah, we provide courses. Like, let's remember the game that we're playing. Um, that could definitely be a part. So last year, when I was writing down my to-do, I was like, oh, I want to greet new students and make sure that the PBL course is up to date and that they don't run into frustrating minor crap like a link that's broken, or um, something gets updated, Cardano CLI, or the new updates aren't reflected. Like that, I thought was like a shoot. That's what I was figured I would be doing. Um, because I see the value in it and etc. But is that reflected in our driver? You could, it could be another one of those things where it's just the water we're swimming in, because it's sort of implied that this is a course, but does it need to be explicit? Uh-huh.
I just
What do you
a
think?
note on so in terms of the PPBL course, there's actually quite a lot of people doing it. And the reason that I know that is because I'm obviously working on data at the moment, and I can see the transaction. So as part of the course, there's several areas where you have to interact with through the live examples with the smart contract. And there's actually quite a lot of people doing it. And they may not even come to the Discord, we may never hear of them, but there are people using it and learning it. And I'm not saying this is something we should be doing, but we don't really keep any KPIs on that. So we don't know how valuable we are in some ways. So yeah, maybe that's something we could start doing in somehow. I don't know, because that sort of gives us some sort of feedback into the value we are providing.
Here we go. That I definitely believe it. I want to read what. Okay, there's a couple of things in the chat. Um, and then Harsha, I want to read these in the chat, and then I think it might be getting time. So like drafting the driver, it's I think it might be helpful to like get down into this. Feels like now, because this will engage a lot of folks, and then we can get back up to that. What do you feel about that? You think it's
I
time to
think that's
jump
a good
in?
idea. Yeah.
Yeah.
If we are stuck here, maybe like this will give us insights into maybe unlocking it. Yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Okay, so here's a question. So, honest question: does Gimbal Labs need more visibility within the community? Would this be a regional concern? Remember that he's been absent for a couple of years. Thank you, Scott. I think that might be a great question to drop down into the what's needed, right? Um, and James writes, if we have a reason why we want visibility, oh, he's responding. We don't have the amount we need, we want, then we'd agree to that we need more, and should our driver reflect that we want it. Okay. Scott says, I'll default to the group's decision. I do not have the historical knowledge. Is it a need or a want? I bring this up also as a suggestion to that the minimized Marlowe builders, as was stated by Kevin. Okay. Okay. Um, all right. I think those are pointing to this what's needed and what do I want to do. So these stars here, we intentionally did not make them another shape. Um, but they can kind of frame our thoughts on like what we want to do. So here's I'm going to set a timer, and is it clear, this idea of what's needed and what I want to do? This is a time to sort of think very concrete, practical um, objectives or tactics, things that a thing that you want to happen, or a thing that you want to do, a place that you want to go, or an action to get there. Can be here. So I'm just going to actually duplicate these so they're not all stuck up in one spot. Here. And we'll take them. All right, so this is another interactive moment where you can let the sticky flurry begin. And all right. And let's give a good bit, let everybody get in there. And I'm going to try to jump in here too. Oh, ah, aha. Here comes another prompt. So one way to think about is not like what Gimbalabs needs, kind of abstract, sort of, but what you personally need. Um, and what are your personal goals? And a goal, which is, a place that you want to go, might have smaller goals in order to get to that bigger goal. And those smaller goals are sometimes called objectives or milestones. So do those milestones have like smaller parts that you could think of? Oh, I've been working on needs, but or what I want to do, but I'm gonna work on some what's needed. And that was my timer. How is everybody going? Are they still moving around? No, it looks like people are still moving around. We've got about 30 minutes left before we need to start our sign out to be on the 90-minute schedule. We've been going for about an hour. So let's give it another 2 minutes. And if you are working on what do I want to do, then maybe you can work on what's needed. That's where I went. Ooh, okay, time is flying. Time is flying. All right. Let's go through. Where's the Antonio network? Mhm. Now I'm going through and putting looking around I think for instance I've got have a cool portfolio. That sort of fits between education and community. Maybe a little closer towards community, right? Meet cool collaborators. Anybody else want to talk about what they've put up and where they're putting things? Okay, Scott had to take off. Looking at the chat here. Fyodor's here. Hey man. And Monique is here. Hey Monique. New folks have rolled in. Oh, hey man.
Hey guys, hey.
Nice. Any questions? You feel like you can pick up? We sent you the Miro board. Um, jump in, jump in. Hey Monique. Monique is saying hello. Okay. Complete a funded project. Ooh, sustaining. Oh, there we go. Hmm. So, here's a prompt. I saw a great video. I'll make it in our link section down here. On this board, we've got a section for links. In this video, Ali Abdul, he's the doctor that became a productivity hacking author. He he talks about making an objective or a goal and then tying it to an identity. So, your goal might be to build an app or finish a funded project, and you could say that I you could turn it into it makes more impact, and he had some scientific papers about why or people that had verified this empirically that uh if you think in terms of an I statement or an identity, then it might be more impactful. So if you say I am, like, instead of saying I built or I develop apps, Web3 apps, or I use these tools, instead you say I am a Web3 developer, or uh, I am a contributor in Catalyst, or I am a funded Catalyst proposer. Like those are more they have more impact than if you just say I received funding from Catalyst. And it actually goes to like some of my ground work of educational philosophy is that we really are trying to change our identity. Um, yeah. And I like phrasing it like this. Introduce myself as a Web3 developer. Like, oh, well, what do you do? It's like, oh, I'm a Web3 developer. A lot of people they have that, like, oh, I'm a plumber, I'm a um, etc. I'm a lawyer, you know. But wouldn't it be cool if you had something that was a little more clear? Because really, I'm a contributor, uh, but in a network. All right, Harsha, help me out. What do you think?
I think it's a good idea to go through all the notes.
Okay, here we go. I think you're right. I think you're right. Community and onboarding. Which one should we start at?
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, let's see. The sustainability and funding. And so, what does what does Gimbalabs need in this area? Viable products and technologies, assist within Gimbalabs, sustainability beyond Catalyst. Yep. Um, phase one of Gimbal token rollout might be needed. Phase zero already happened in 2022. Okay, what's needed is maybe something with the Gimbal token. What's in here? What people want to do, Gimbal Labs project and developer sustainability. Okay. So more things like what do people want to do in the sustainability and funding category? Let's go over here. Um, looks like there's a lot of things that people want to do and the builders contributing and doing. Build stuff, build apps, build something that involves both smart contracts and a front end. Love that one. Complete building the Asteria front end. Yep, that's a great one. If you need help jogging your memory about things to do, over here is an export of all of the Notion projects. So perhaps this might jog memory. Delivering the Plutus PBL. I know that the maintaining the PBL is in here. Project Catalyst, maybe there's things that people want to do in Project Catalyst, the Aiken, all the PBLs, Dandelion, is Martin still around? Yeah, Martin's still here. Like, are there things that, that you want to do? Likewise, I'm getting sidetracked now, but here's what we wrote down last year, which I think is sort of a great thing to look at. It's like, oh yeah. All right. So there's the building and doing. Seems like there's building. Oh, what's needed? Here we go. Marlowe PBL. Lots of stuff here in the Marlowe PBL. Planning for collaborative work, feedback on the quality, a channel, everything I'm working. This is pretty cool. Have a sustainable budget, like budget planning, preventing blockers from IOG, testers. Like what do we need? We need testers for the Marlowe PBL. Brilliant. I want to sign up. Uh, Reaching the F13 milestones, having clear definitions, and what happens with course if Ondanio stops. Okay. Determine role and place and usefulness. What is needed? Like determine the role and place of Gimbalabs. Like what is Gimbalabs needs to determine its role and place, its usefulness in for builders and contributors and they're doing. That's a good one. Outreach and advocacy. Gimbalabs needs to be the top name in Cardano education and building. Yeah, this is a nice one. It feels like a like a goal statement. Like this would be a great goal. What Gimbalabs needs: rise awareness by creating videos, tutorials, and blogs. That's a cool one. See now, this is interesting where the need, so someone's like, oh, I can make a tutorial video and blog, and what would that look like? You know, perhaps that's a a proposal for a Gimbal Labs blog format that has like or a branding document or marketing documentation so that people know how to do it. What can I do or what do I want to do? Attract more project builders from other blockchains. That's a good one. Yeah, outreach to other blockchains. Like where to do the outreach. Okay, lots of stuff here in education and learning, which makes sense. So what does Gimbalabs need? And please feel free to jump in if I'm reading one of your things. I do love to hear myself talk. It's like one of my features, not a bug thing. When I get into this zone. But jump in if you've got if you want to talk about one of these that I'm reading off.
Actually, I wrote the previous one, the previous sticker that you read.
This one?
Yeah, these two. Yeah. So I'm working on a video that highlights the differences between Ethereum and the Cardano, and I want to show people how cheap it is to mint an NFT and then do all the stuff, all the kind of like smart contracts interactions. And so when I'm done with this video, I will share it with you guys.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Now, how could Gimbal Labs or how could so I'll speak that way. How could I help? Or are you interested in help? Or were there any blockers that you came across that, you know, if that me as someone involved with Gimbal Labs could help? Yeah, it's just a thought.
If you're interested, we can maybe schedule some time together and like explore the Ethereum part, because I don't really feel myself confident enough with the Ethereum side, so I have to dig a little bit and do some research. So if you want to, then
I'm gonna write down. What does Gimbal Lab needs? Folks from other chains, EVM builders.
Like Professor Mix was. He was a huge skeptic when we met him.
We need skeptics.
That Piotr, that person to talk to about like the technical stuff.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Oh,
I mean, obviously, you got to block your schedule for that, but he'll have a lot of ideas about how to name those differences.
cool. Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah.
Yeah, and then hear how you see how a need can sort of go into like now I realize I just met with a buddy that's on the Steam chain, and it was so cool to talk to somebody that was from a whole different thing. It turns out, I don't know if you guys are watching the Silo, but they're all dealing with the same stuff. They're all dealing with the same stuff. And then all of a sudden you're like they're like, "Oh, you're doing that?" And you were like, "Oh, I have valuable information to give to you. I didn't really think of it as too valuable, but I can be a bridge." So that'd be another one. It's like, what do you want to do? I want to be a bridge to other communities. You know. So to see how these purple sort of imply or give a gateway to another one. So thanks for bringing that one up, Theodore. Anybody else? That was kind of fun. Does anybody else want to talk about one that they put in, and we can kind of workshop it a little bit?
I noted one which is a bit more big picture philosophical thinking. I wrote unlearn from legacy systems. I guess the reason why I've put that is maybe part of the reason why I ended up Cardano anyway. I just think like from when we're kids, we're sort of taught to exist in these hierarchical sort of systems, and I think so many parts of the world are so many things in the world are broken because of it. And I think maybe from my mid-20s, I've gone through a process of unlearning, which is like it's a really nice term I like. And I see Cardano and here Gimbalabs is a huge part of that, really. Um, I think there's huge value to be had from working in a more decentralized and decentralized structure, where we don't need bosses, we don't need people telling us what we have to be doing. Yeah,
Yeah, I love it, man. I totally love it. Um, the need is decentralized workers or decentralized contributors, people who understand and have an experience, not in hierarchy, but with the network way to work. And there's a whole body of knowledge that goes into it, and it's a real process because it's like learning to drive on the other side of the road. Yeah, everything's fine when you're just cruising along, no one else is on the road, you're driving on the other side, and then something happens and you immediately have a reaction. A lot of people get hurt that way, and I feel like that same thing happens in these new models of work, these decentralized network system. So the thing that goes along with that, unlearn from legacy system, the need for Gimbalabs, how could we phrase that? I think like experiments in non-legacy systems.
And
Yeah.
proposals, right? Proposals are the number one mechanism that we have, right? Without proposals, all plans would have to be top down, and they're not. And we all experience different levels and different flavors of discomfort with that, right? Waiting, oh, when is Gimbalabs going to do this? Well, when somebody writes a proposal about it, and when a group consents to making that happen, and when people opt into doing it, right? It's uncomfortable and slow going, but it's, as everything we're supposed to be doing in this driver mapping workshop helps us connect why we do things to what we do. And this is the why for why we spend every Thursday with a chance to look at proposals and governing what we're going to do, because it gives us a chance to unlearn that kind of central planning, top-down hierarchical regime that we all recognize.
Yes.
yeah,
And
and it is
so, yeah.
it's an experiment at the same time, isn't it? Nobody's really, well, I'm sure people have done it successfully, but that's not the vast majority of how the world works. Is this is not what we're doing here.
Well, and one thing we know from all of the literature on there's all sorts of names for it, whether you call it evolutionary organizations, teal, non-hierarchical, the list of names for these ideas goes on and on. But what we learn over and over again across decades of history is that these experiments are never final. And the moment people let down their guard, the old ways of doing things rush back in, right? So there's a lot of organizations that have been championed in books, but that if you go look at those organizations now, they don't look like what the author was writing about, right? So
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
it never goes away. The pressure to make things easier and familiar will always be there. And there's no like finish line.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And what that like points me in the direction of this, like, this is a generational change. So it's going to be very, very sort of incremental and slow until it's not, until the, you know, the, the tipping point happens and people are like, oh yeah, they talk about that. Like, I think it's like there's a certain percentage of early adopters. And once it goes over that, then the change is adopted in a wider, main mass adoption sort of event. Um, and being a pioneer, like that's kind of a verb, that's kind of a thing, like pioneering. Now, we've got a little bit of time. I definitely want to have 5 minutes to check out. I don't want to be rushing to check out. Um, I wonder if we want to creep up here to sort of, now that we've talked about some needs and actions that we want, do we want to look at our driver again? Um, and what brought me to this spot was the idea of the proposal. And since we didn't really know we would be doing proposals when we wrote this, and that it was based on our conversations, last week, we, we, that was like a really cool, emergent, fun thing that happened in Gimbal Labs. And it really is like a big, big part of, what we do now. With this start here in our Notion and all of these proposal projects that are going, do we want our driver to reflect that? Could we change it? Is it important to change? Let's talk about our driver for 3 minutes. Let's talk about this driver. To provide open, replicable, safe spaces to learn, explore, and to empower individuals and organizations anywhere so they can solve meaningful problems. Yeah, I like I like the openness of it. Whereas the proposed one, it's a little specific in a weird way. And hmm,
So when I registered Gimbalabs as a DREP, just so we have one, um, without making any claims as to what we actually do with it, I found out I had this chance to like put up an objective and a motivation. So one thing you'll see like in the Gov tool is that we link to the project portfolio in Notion. But then here's language that's currently it's hashed on chain, and this represents the Gimbalabs DREP here in the chat. And this can definitely be changed. If we decide we want to replace these objectives or motivations with whatever driver we come up with, absolutely we can. But given the chance just to write something off the top of my head based on experience so far, this is what I came up with in the last days of December.
what we got? We Objectives. We advocate for pluralism, open source development, and educational outcomes. Our intention is to help create systems that work better than the status quo for more people and that create sustainable opportunities for more people. Okay. And motivations. Diverse ecosystems are more robust and resilient than those that are uniform and centralized. We expect Cardano to deliver on its highest promise of pushing power to the edges and opening new opportunities where they did not exist before. Yeah. I mean, I think that is especially with because the the audience for this are people that are delegating their voting power. Um, and it sort of says this is what we advocate for: pluralism, open source development, educational, creating systems that work better than the status quo, and sustainable opportunities for more people. That's sort of economic, sustainable economic opportunities, or sustainable like
I think it's just economic. I don't think it's just economic.
yeah, not just economic. Yeah. The media, that's what I sort of thought of, but sustainable opportunity for contribution, for employment. Steve, I know that you think a lot about the DREP thing. Do you have some immediate sort of thoughts on this one?
It's really difficult for me to just say in a sentence, Newman. I for me, I appreciate all of this and everybody's engagement in this. For me, this has been kind of difficult, because I feel like we have a lot to talk about. And I don't see that, the exercise that we've gone through for the last 2 weeks has really added any significant verbiage to what we already had with our primary driver. And, like for me, like we've been funded 2 catalyst rounds in a row to sustain and maintain Gimbalabs based on this driver. And I kind of feel like, we just need to move with it. And, in that idea, then, there's a lot of other stuff to do. But I appreciate everybody's thoughts on this.
What about a round? And just we can kind of do it a close out because I looked down at the time and yeah, that's right. It flies by. So we have 7 minutes and we are going to stop right on time. I've got a hard stop at 11. Um, so it's going to be like a Cinderella thing. So let's go down and let's start with if you guys want to do a little round and just sort of following that from Steve's idea of like, okay, what does it feel like? Do you feel like we've moved the needle? And are there, yeah, any we could call it a closeout and a clarification round. Uh, and I guess the proposal on the table would be, do we keep the current one? Yeah, I guess that's how it works. Harsha, what do you think?
I agree with that. Like, I think it's a good time to do a round to see if we want to keep the current one or make any slight changes to it. Or, yeah.
Okay. Let's go from the top down. Well, James, we'll let you go at the end. You're the host. Let's go to Harsha and then Andrew.
Um, for me personally, I'm pretty happy with what we had like in 2024. But the only thing I am curious about is Gimbal Labs why to provide spaces or to create contributors? That's the only question I have in my mind.
Yeah. Okay. Um, uh, Andrew, and then Kevin.
Yeah, okay, I'll go. So I think this last couple of weeks has been a really valuable experiment because I do think it's important to reflect on what we're doing and why each of us are here, what we're trying to get out of it. ultimately, I think, yeah, the driver from 2024, I think it really encapsulates well what Gimbalabs is. And I'd be happy to keep that as the same.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Andrew. Kevin and then Martin.
Yes. So I would suggest to zoom out and keep the big picture in view. The goal is to engage and lower the bar of entry in order to use this Cardano technology as one of many. Not only for the coding itself that we develop, we want to minimize human influence thanks to the smart contract technology and provide collaborative engagement towards educative materials to innovate and be more, have a risk-free environment for all of us. That's what I think.
Oh, I love it, Kevin.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. And Martin and then Monique.
Yeah, I like the current driver. I think it's fine to use this. So
Cool. All right, that sounds. Monique, go ahead, and then Piotr.
I didn't mean to interrupt. I'm having difficulty with Mira. Could I see the new driver for a second on the
Oh,
screen? Is
oh
this
man, sorry about that. Yep.
no
Here we
worries?
go. Yeah. New driver to engage in collaborative problem solving. And this is just the proposed driver. So it's more just like, are there thoughts about the old one and bringing it in? Like Harsha mentioned, like maybe, like tweaking around making spaces, like that being so centralized and contributors. I'm giving you some time to think through.
Okay.
Yeah.
I will say, I think that the original driver, it is comprehensive. I think it encompasses a lot. It's like it's like high level. I think it's fine, but I like the knowledge sharing component of the proposed driver and the foster meaningful relationships. I do like those components. But
Okay.
I think the current driver is high level enough that it kind of implies and covers all of the necessary bases.
Beautiful. That's good feedback. Thanks, Monique. Piotr and then Sebastian.
Hmm. I don't actually have much to share, but I do think that this was made by an AI? Is that correct?
Yeah. I think it was ChatGPT.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to say that I think that we underestimate the AI, and so I think, well, at least in the past. So I think that AI actually can make some good stuff, and
For
this
sure.
probably is good one. So yeah, that's all I
Okay.
have.
All right. Sure. Sebastian and James, quickly.
Yeah. Hi guys. No objection. No objection. Besides that, based on my some kind of conversations with people outside of our Gimbalabs scope, but the they had some kind of presence in the Gimbalabs community. All what they say is Gimbalabs is an entry point. It's an entry point, and they come and go in that way. They need the entry point, and after that, they see what they want to do in the ecosystem, what they want to make in the ecosystem. Entry
I
point
love
is a constant expression from devs and non-devs, especially from devs. From that statement come ideas like, for example, from my startup, talking about the developers, when developers say things, they say from my startup, I'm really grateful for Gimbalabs and how they helped me to find my way in the Cardano ecosystem. So currently, I'm doing really good. I'm doing really well in my in my project. So I'm able to provide some kind of financial support, some kind of financial support, kind of donation to
Yeah.
Gimbalabs. That and it's this is what I'm saying this moment. It's not me talking about my own things. I'm talking about what other people says to me when I have the opportunity to talk to them.
Nice.
So I think if we hear people more, uh, they have the answers. Yeah,
Okay.
thanks.
I love it. That's great feedback. It's great feedback. And James, bring us home.
Yeah, I really love what Steve said about keeping this one because it got us to where we are, and
Yeah.
support was funded, so that's really cool. I do think there's a couple of words from the newer version, and like Monique pointed out, knowledge sharing. Like I could imagine just replacing the word learn with knowledge sharing. So as an exercise, like if there's any phrases you like in the second one, maybe we can tweak a couple things, but.
Yep.
Beyond that, yeah, no objections to keeping it as is and moving forward.
Perfect. Perfect. Um, Harsha, I want to say thanks. Man, I this time flew by so much. But I'm really grateful. We We'll talk about like where we go from here. Um, Next Thursday, I think that we're going to keep up on Thursday's schedule for the open space, and so we can, as our pattern is, we can go from whatever shows up on Thursday. With that being said, Harsha, any last words before we sign off and say goodbye?
No, I think it's pretty good. I think we are almost set with our 2024 driver. Maybe a couple of tweaks, maybe 15 minutes next session, but I think we're pretty good in a good spot. Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful. All right, y'all. Let's stop the recording and we'll say goodbye.
Thanks, everybody.
All right, bye.
Soon.